good morning and welcome to Bibli News. I am Susie News. First this morning, we crossed live to a press conference that is unfolding. Awesome. Hello, how are you? Thank you. Good morning everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I believe that you have some questions for me about some of the things that I've been saying recently. I don't know what's so scandalous about them, but I guess we're gonna find out. So I'm gonna field some questions from you. Yeah, let's see how we go. Yes, hello. Authorities have still been trying to track down Keith. Do you have any knowledge as to where he might be? Look, here's what I've actually heard. He is not the guy that you're looking for. Oh, I know, plot twist. Seriously? Well, let's be real. Think about it. How much do we really know about this Keith character? Like, he's so mysterious. He could really be anyone. So he might not be who you're trying to look for. I think I'm gonna need a minute. Thank you. Alrighty then. Thank you. Next question. Yes, so just Meg, you have been making some very outrageous claims about what Jesus said in the Bible, particularly in reference to, one second here. Oh, there it is, yes. John 15 verse 17 to 16 verse 4. You said that the world is going to hate us. What is your reasoning behind this statement? Well, it's because these words are directly from Jesus. In the section of the Bible that you're referring to, Jesus is being really upfront with his followers about the fact that things are not going to be easy. He says in verse 1 of chapter 16 that he's telling us these things so that we will not actually turn away from him. Interesting. So why will they hate us? Well, because we belong to Jesus and he was hated by the world. He says in verse 19 that if you belong to the world, its people would love you, but you don't belong to the world. I have chosen you to leave the world behind, and this is why its people will hate you. He has picked us for something greater than this world. So because we are different, then people will see we are different and not like us and even hate us. But why did people hate Jesus? Well, as was actually predicted in a bunch of Psalms in the Old Testament in the Bible, people actually hated Jesus for no reason at all. They didn't know Jesus and they didn't know his father. So I guess that they didn't understand who Jesus, truly was and saw the incredible things that he did as not good or even breaking the mold. Thank you. Yes, what's your question? Yes, well, howdy, Just Meg. I was wondering if you could explain for us a little more your name. Just Meg. Why the Just? Okay, moving on. Read the room, man. Read the room, please. Yes, your question. So, just Meg, if people hate us because we believe in Jesus, what are we to expect then? Well, we can actually expect things in this world to be more difficult, for people to not accept us for what we believe, even for people to make fun of us or judge us. And this has been happening to Christians for years, ever since Jesus went back up to heaven and the church started to explode. You can actually read about some of these guys in the book of Acts. People like Stephen, or you can actually read about Jesus himself and the way that people told him. Now, some of these stories are super intense and even horrible things happen to Christians living now, as well as back then. So then why would people want to live their lives like this? Why follow Jesus if it's so hard? Well, yeah, that's a good question for everyone to consider. But the reason is what is actually waiting for us after death. Being in a friendship with God forever is what awaits us. Despite all of the horrible things that happened to Jesus in his life, it actually led to the greatest thing, the greatest good ever to happen, which was him dying on the cross and making way for our relationship with God to be repaired. So we can now look forward to living with God in a perfect place forever. I mean, that does sound like a pretty amazing reward. It certainly does. But what about in the meantime? Like, how can we have courage to keep going despite the world hating us, Just Meg? Well, in this section of John, Jesus again talks about this spirit that will come from God. As Jesus says in verse 26, he, that is the Holy Spirit, will help us and tell us about Jesus. The Spirit is God in us and will help us to be courageous, to continue to live for Jesus even when it's hard, even when we can feel the hate from others, and he will help us to tell other people about Jesus because everyone needs to hear about him. Any other questions? We will hear more from that press conference after a message from our sponsors. Please stay with us. You are watching Bibli News.